I'm just really starting to question to what extent younger audiences should be subjected to or have access to things like on the internet and stuff, because they're so much more easily influenced.
I think I'm totally with you on that. I think there's an absolute process of, you don't want to like totally shelter a kid, but this is the real world. So like, what are the levels of letting them, start seeing stuff? You know what I mean?
100%. And
yeah. So like I could use myself as, like I said, but my parents weren't letting me watch horror movies, and my dad had a softball team, and I thought his teammates were like, they might as well have been the Phillies or the Yankees to me. Like they were like the greatest guys. And one of his players was having a party, and they're all drinking, and they were all drinking on a deck, and they'd hand me their cups when I'm like 6 years old, and I'd run down the steps out in the dark and fill their beer for them. And they had Friday the 13th Part 2 on.
Nice.
And it's on HBO. And I remember my mom was with all the, the baseball players, women in another room. And my mom's like, don't let him see this. So when they had some beers in them, the players pulled me over for a scene we all know where the girl undresses and goes and swims in the lake. That was my introduction. They pulled me over. They pulled a 6-year-old boy over, shoved in front of a TV. And there's this girl, beautiful girl. My God, wow. But that was my first time I saw a naked girl, and I'm giggling / wow, that's what a woman looks like with no clothes on. And then what happens? She comes back out. The dude gets caught up.
Gets his ass killed.
And but when the giggles stopped, when he slit his throat, and I remember like my mom walked in and starts yelling at my dad. What did we say? He's not going to see all this. But I remember the next player came up and handed me the cup. Goes, go fill me up, and I'm like, I don't want, like, I didn't want to go outside, but I didn't want to look weak. So I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom. My mom's like, he's rattled. Look what happened. And I'm asking my parents, like, they know everything. You know how that was. Like, why did he do that to him? I don't understand. But did they do something wrong? Who was the guy? Why did he do that? And they're like, man, my mom really let him have it. And like in the couple things, my dad was pretty good with words that night. He just shut up because he knew he effed up. But I'm saying what the whole point is I understand because that happened to me. It didn't traumatize me or anything, but it definitely shook me up. A 6-year-old, like I saw someone, that's the first time I ever saw something like that. So I understand when a parent's like I've always let my kid just watch it, toughen them up early, but I also understand when someone's like language, we don't curse in this house, stuff. So like I said, with everything that happened the last couple of days, like what's the stepping?
Yeah, it's really tough. It's a slippery slope, and everybody's got an opinion, and everybody isn't certainly entitled to that opinion. But nowadays it's tough because I don't feel like people accept other people's opinions very well. Or
we're in a world now where everyone's the unofficial king or queen. That's the best way I call it. If you're not in their world, if you're not going to agree with them, there's almost like stat sheet to be my friend. Let me sit down and interview, because if you don't believe in this, we can't be friends.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I definitely think that there is a like that's to put it into a context. Like that's what scares me about having a kid is the exterior influences that back when we were growing up. Because you're probably about my age. I'd say you're in your 40s, right?
Yep, I'm a little older than you.
So it's like we grew up in a time where your phone still had a cord, and so your mom could get on the phone in the other room and listen to who you were talking to if she wanted to. Your parents regulated what you watched on TV. You didn't have the internet. You certainly didn't have a computer in your room or a TV. I didn't have a TV in my room until I was like 16, 15 years old. And so it's like nowadays kids can find whatever they want. My wife's nephews were 5 and 7 years old at the time. Were looking up boobs on their iPad, and I look at that and I laugh at it. But at the same time, I'm like, that is just, it's not as much as I was looking at Playboys and Penthouses when I was 8 years old, and that's how I learned about sex. But at the same point in time, you know, I don't know if that's the right thing to do. And now that I'm an adult, I have a little better sense of myself.
The one thing I'm all about with children these days is like, if you're like under the age of 10, don't even let them be kids. Don't bring up sex of any kind. Let them chase each other around. Let them play sports. Let them push each other down in the playground. Like let them have their youth before their hormones act up and ruin their life like the rest of us here listening.
Yes, I
But
completely agree.
yeah, and like getting back what you just said about finding the Playboys. I remember there was all us kids in the neighborhood. We all didn't get along. There was a rumored Playboy 5 miles up the road that was found in the woods. So all of us half of us didn't like each other, got on our bikes, and we did a Lord of the Rings journey to go look for this Playboy. And when we got there, it wasn't there, but like it was literally like, I have to be back at this time. I have to be back by this time. Like we're trying to map out the best route. We're bringing backpacks. It's like, but that's so all you kids that are just Googling anything you want to see. This is what guys like me had to do back then. We had to go on journeys to see someone naked.
They don't appreciate it. They don't have to work for it anymore. All they can do is use their fingers to type in the fucking words. Whereas now, back in the day, I have so many stories like that. It's funny.